Folks, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a joy. I didn't get to make it here last year, so I'm really, really happy to be able to see everyone now. So my talk is equipped for today, prepared for tomorrow. So to prepare for tomorrow, one has to study the past. That's my thesis. And to equip for today, you have to study the present. So my goal is to give a general philosophical guideline to how any human can be equipped for today and be prepared for tomorrow. And from there, I'll talk about how we as Liferay are practicing this. And I think it'll make this talk far more interesting and edifying. So that's George Santayana from Madrid, Spain. He's a poet-philosopher. And in 1905, before World War I and World War II, he wrote, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." Okay? I would state the corollary that if you do study the past, you can repeat the good parts of it. Why? Because everything will repeat. The world is on repeat mode. Let me show you what I mean. This is Battlestar Galactica. It's a 10-year-old HBO show, and the starting tagline is, "All of this has happened before, all of this will happen again." I remember watching this show going, that sounds very interesting. I wonder where they got that from. And I looked it up, and the original quote is from a Jewish teacher 3,000 years ago. And this is what the teacher wrote. "What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun." Ecclesiastes 1:9. So my point is this. We must learn from the past. We must learn from history. And the first lesson from history is this. There's nothing new under the sun. And if there's nothing new at all under the sun, then my first observation is that things go in cycles. So that's I looked up 1920s fashion and popped this thing up from present time. It's called the preppy Ivy style. Actually, there's several guys in our LA office who dress this way. They're super hip, and I'm not. I don't dress this way. I wish I could, but it just takes too much time. Now, my point is everything goes in cycles, right? This is from Cosmopolitan this past year. I find this look disgusting, but 80s style is making a comeback. Now, this does not exist just with fashion, but it happens in software as well. So this is an IBM 3270 terminal in 1972. And check out the word. We call it terminal, right? Where do you think you get the word terminal from in OS X and for iTerm, right? Or products like Terminator, right? Or LX Terminal. These things are all derived from that. And what did it do? It connected to a mainframe. Now, by the way, if you look on the upper right, or mid-right, that's called a light pen. Yeah, I had to look this up. I couldn't believe it when I found this. It's an IBM light pen in the 1960s. So the Apple Pencil stylus was not the first. My point isn't about pens. My point is this is a terminal that connected to something. What did it connect to? It connected to an IBM mainframe, 3033. Don't mainframes remind you of server farms? Right? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Fast forward a few years later, 1981, IBM releases a personal computer. 20 years prior to this, it would cost $9 million, an air-conditioned room, and 1,000 square meters in order to house that much computing power. And it required a staff of 60 people. 1981, that cost $1,500, had a faster processor, and it could do far more. And had a whopping 16 kilobytes of RAM. And no need to connect to a mainframe. All the apps were local. Fast forward a few years, 1991, this is the first URL to the first website, hosted on the next computer in Europe. And this is what it said, the World Wide Web. That's an actual screenshot from 1992. Okay. Fast forward 2 more years after that, Netscape in 1994. And everyone's crazy about connected computers, crazy about the internet and the web. So from 1994, right when Netscape came out, to the peak of the dot-com boom, that's 6 years, right, you can see this graph, everything shifted to the internet. Right, I graduated in 2000. 3 months after the peak of the dot-com boom, my handle on Skype and my other accounts, it's all brianchan_dot_com. You can see which era I'm from, right? I remember how cocky we were, right? We looked down on any desktop or thick client software developers. We understand, and part of the reason we did that was because we understand the web. You guys just develop stuff on a computer, right? We understand the internet economy. We look down on people. We looked down on, we were all about thin client programming, right? So you see the pattern? From mainframes, which were thin, to PCs, which were fat, because all local, to the internet, where everything was thin. A few years after that, 2007, your iPhone. Then we started having words like mobile first, right? That part's still thin, because it's still on a browser. But suddenly, it was cool to be an iOS app developer. Right? It's not so cool these days to have on your resume. Fast forward to today, what do we have now? We have progressive web apps. You can see the battle shifting back and forth between fat and thin clients, right? And the browser, once a really thin client, is now becoming a fat client, right? It's swinging back to the web, back to the desktop, and it's sort of a hybrid mixed state right now. Is it a website? Is it an app? It's a progressive web app. And you can run these things, it's not limited to just mobile devices. You can run it on a desktop, okay? And what's the language in which you write all this stuff? It's all HTML and JavaScript, right? And in the 1990s, you wrote your desktop apps with Visual Basic. It sort of makes JavaScript the Visual Basic of the day. One day, you will think of JavaScript the same way you think of Visual Basic. So next time you meet a JavaScript developer, tell them you know Visual Basic, and that's an amazing language. It's so similar to JavaScript. My point is that the battle between fat and thin goes back and forth. And it's just one cycle I see in programming. There's nothing new under the sun. Here's another example of cycles. That's Visual Age for Java. I was forced to use it. It's an IE for my first job. I do not like using GUIs for coding. I like lightweight text editor. That's my natural bent. And I didn't want to go to GUIs to click for things and run things. Why? Because I grew up in a BBS world. Right? So I log into a BBS, I play these video games, and there were all these colors, and I just type. I don't have to use my mouse. Right? It's in the 90s before while the web was still gaining popularity. And what's happening today? That's our new NPM tool and command line development. I'm so glad it swung back that way now. Right? And there's a constant back and forth between GUIs and CLIs, because people will use GUIs and then they'll go, oh, it's so much faster with a CLI. And then they'll use a CLI and they'll find out, oh, it's so much faster if I use a GUI. So I'm glad I can use Sublime these days. In a way, I was behind the times because I was into BBS story games. But in a way, and so I didn't like IBM Visual Age, but in a way, I was ahead of the times because I wanted something really fast and lean. So today, I wear cargo pants. They're pants with pockets on the side. They were really popular in the early 2000s. They're not popular anymore. I don't care. I buy just cargo pants because I know they're going to come back in style. There's another cycle I see. That's an IRC chat client. So within the chat world, there's a constant struggle back and forth. Is your chat client people-centric, or is it topic-centric? Right? Now with IRC, you can do direct messages and you can do topics, but it's really topic-centric. Right? For years, I used IRC. Then that fell out of favor, and we moved towards AIM, Yahoo Messenger, Skype. Right? From people-centric towards from rooms topic-centric towards people-centric. And today, what do we have? We have Slack. It's a really, really improved version of IRC. Right? And you can see how Skype is adding the features missing in Slack to become more topic-focused. And Slack is adding more features of Skype to become more people-focused. It's a battle between topics and people. there's another pattern, another cycle I see. It's a cycle of how we set configuration. We go from lean to verbose and back and forth. That's our portal properties file. I remember back in WebLogic 5, they were all properties files. And then they switched to WebLogic 6, where it was all XML files. And I thought at the time, should I switch portal.properties and make it an XML file? I didn't because I thought it was just ugly. I didn't see the point. But I had no choice with portal.xml, right? And with WebXML. Why? Because XML was suddenly the thing, right? Everyone wanted verbosity. Why? Because you can have nested elements and you can have schema validation. Super important things. And everyone talked about XML as the thing. But I did not switch portal.properties XML. And I'm really glad I didn't, because soon the rest of the world would start seeing XML as ugly, right? And what did they switch from XML to? JSON files, right? Because XML is too verbose. It hurts our eyes. And what comes after that? A YAML file. Why? Because JSON is still too verbose. So you see this, but then now they're adding JSON schema validation, all this stuff. So you see a battle between lean versus verbose. I could have been ahead of our time if we invented YAML when everyone was raving about XML. Right? You see the pattern here, right? The cycle. Today, we use all four formats. That's just YAML, JSON, XML. And I go up one directory, I have a properties file. But there's more. I see another cycle in how we do apps. So that's a list of app servers, okay? Server containers and full-blown Java app servers. And how do we deploy apps, right? We deploy it to these servers. And what do they provide? They abstract out for us certain things, right? You didn't have to care about whether something was in C++ or something else, you just all Java, right? And it took care of the operating system, database connections for us. And what was a unit of measure of an app? It was a jar file or a WAR file. And if you put a combination of those, they became EAR files, and you could write markup about them. Sound familiar? Right? Those are all Java apps. And for a brief moment, you could see the future coming, because the JVM started moving beyond just interpreting Java code toward interpreting PHP, Ruby, etc. Right? But the JVM is terrible with interpreting other languages that are not based on Java. But it foresaw the need. You can see the cycles shifting. And then how is it shifted today? Well, you have essentially Kubernetes is your new app server with markup language describing how these containers work. And what's the unit of measurement of an app? Well, it's a container or many containers that need to be orchestrated. Essentially, extracting out of the file system, the operating system, and network connections. There's nothing new under the sun. Well, how do we apply this at Liferay? Those are 80-foot waves. They're darn scary for most people. Why? You can drown. Or you can learn to ride waves. And if you do, you can have a lot of fun. So instead of being scared of cycles, we turn cycles into something fun and profitable. We go surfing. Specifically at Liferay, I learned a lot while working on one of our new products, Analytics Cloud, our new SaaS offering. It's based on a microservice architecture. It has several Liferay instances and a bunch of Spring Boot instances, each with their respective benefits, all on vdeploy/TXP Cloud, essentially our new app server. The microservice architecture is awesome, okay? But it required everything to be wired via HTTP. And I realized that there were some things that are not meant to be separated via a network. If you want a good service microservice architecture within one container, where you can leverage fast execution, I don't think there's anything better than Liferay. But I don't think the world knows that yet. And I'm not too worried about it because REST was available for a long, long time. And everyone coded with a different paradigm. And finally people understood it a decade plus later, and then they switched to REST. So I think people are going to run through a bunch of problems that I ran into while building HTTP-based microservice architecture. And there's a place for that. But there's also a place for intra-VM microservice architecture. I think Liferay is the best at it. But the market doesn't know yet. So we're preparing for it, so that when the market knows, we'll be ahead of the game. There's a lot more I can say about this, but some of the things we're working on are still in early planning and under the radar. So my first observation is that all things go in cycles. The second is like it. It's that humans tend to take things to an extreme. That's Shanghai, 1991. The Chinese felt a lot of shame from being technology backwards. Okay, I understand that, being a Chinese American. There's this thing called white envy. And why do Chinese people feel that way? Well, Chinese people had fireworks for generations, thousands of years. White Europeans come and they figure out how to turn fireworks into weapons, right? And all of the swords and kung fu is useless against cannons, right? And China subjugated for a couple hundred years. And during that time, we would envy the West. We would go, wow, white people use metal in the way they eat. They use metal forks and metal knives. We use wooden chopsticks. We're so backwards. We feel that way. And so everyone's using bikes. So they wholesale said, in order to modernize, in order to become like white people, in order to be modern, we get rid of all our bikes and turn it into this. Right? That's Shanghai. That's Utrecht. I found this. This is my first time in the Netherlands until yesterday, and somehow I found out that there were lots of bikes here. And I was mesmerized with Utrecht. It went to the bicycle award, and I didn't realize that the whole country was like this. Right? Utrecht is like the fourth largest city here, 2,000 years old, and the general area has about 1,000 people, and 100,000 people bike every day. And it's a mix of cars, buses, and bicycles. They didn't just get rid of one thing and jump to another. They mixed it all in the city. They mixed it around. This is so much better than the American and the Chinese way. There's less pollution, people save money, and everyone's healthier. To make this happen, they had to tear up old streets to put in new red asphalt. I'd never seen that type of red asphalt until I was here. And Utrecht has this way where you can tell where the parking spots, how many parking spots are left. I haven't seen that here in Amsterdam yet. We have these in America, but it's only at malls for cars, not for bikes. And they built this structure that houses 33,000 bikes. Right? China and America are very extreme for cars. Utrecht is balanced, or perhaps they're a little bit too extreme too. I heard one of our developers, Roger, who was freaking out while riding his bike. He almost got in an accident. And then while walking, Jorge and I said that, Jorge said he preferred Madrid car traffic to Amsterdam bicycles. But later that night, we were stuck in a car, we took an Uber, and we were stuck in a car in the city center. And we just looked at each other, and we see these bikes zooming past us. But as soon as we got to the city center, we zoomed past the bikes. My point is, human beings tend to take things to an extreme. I personally think Amsterdam is way more balanced than America and China in its usage of bikes. Another one is, this is Kate Heffernan, 1948. She's a model. You know that fog? It's not this type of fog. I sure hope it's not. That fog? That's DDT. It's a pesticide. This ad is a photo to show that DDT is safe and won't contaminate food. Right? We discovered DDT, something awesome and new, because it kills bugs. Let's spray it everywhere. Right? Don't we do this? Think about this. Oh, this will fix bugs. Let's apply it everywhere. The US government spraying DDT on children. Kind of extreme, no? But check this out. We do the same thing today. We're shifting the other way in extremes. So that's a poster I found from parents urging their kids, other parents, not to give their kids vaccines because vaccines will kill them. Don't we do this in software? We take one pattern, take it to an extreme, then we call it an anti-pattern, and we make fun of everyone who uses it. I remember looking at this thing called a God line. It's something you're not supposed to do. It was like an anti-pattern. Today it's called chaining. Right? Oh, wow. So suddenly what used to be a God line, that was something that was not to be used, is now the thing to use. Okay, go with the times. Another way is organic food, right? It's all the rage. Right? But think about this. Our food used to be all organic. We take the idea of pesticides and benefits, we forget its drawbacks, and we push it to an extreme, just like we do with every hype. Locally grown food. Our food used to all be locally grown. But why? It's cheaper to centralize it all somewhere else. It's nice to centralize things like making of plastic, but tomatoes, you want that close by. Because things that get shipped, the tomatoes aren't as good. Doesn't that apply to your cloud strategy? There's some data that really should just sit very far away, but some data needs to be really, really close by, right? Both for legal reasons and both because of just performance reasons, right? So be careful with your cloud strategy. I guarantee you that if you take any one idea to an extreme, it'll fail for you, right? And you'll have to pivot and change. Here's Elon Musk, right, at the Tesla factory. Here's what he wrote. There are some things are very well suited to manual operation and some things are very well suited to automated operation. And the two should not be confused. We did go too far on the automation front and automated some pretty silly things. They had this thing called a fluff bot. And it was supposed to put noise dampening fiberglass on top of the batteries. And machines couldn't touch the fiberglass because it was too fluffy. And they had an automated machine for it, they just trashed it and just put a bunch of humans to it. And he wrote, excessive automation at Tesla was a mistake. Humans are underrated. In short, you can even take automation to an extreme. Or think about AI. So Amazon had this whole AI tool in order to filter resumes. But it was filtering women for tech jobs, filter them out. So they said, okay, let's get rid of any word that deals with gender or male or female. It was still filtering out. They couldn't do anything to stop it from happening. Either the data was too bad, they couldn't figure out why, so they just scrapped the tool, right? They're too scared to use it. So they ended up, they still use it for one function only, detecting duplicate resumes. It was awesome at that, but it couldn't figure out who was good for a certain job. I think we're hitting an AI bubble. This is September 2017, cancer treatment gone wrong at University of Texas. It's $62 million that they spent on Watson, and it didn't give the results they wanted. May of this year, IBM Watson Health had massive layoffs. They laid off like 70% of the folks. And 2 weeks ago, IBM sinks $34 billion to buy Red Hat. And here's what people wrote. The acquisition of Red Hat seems to be a better bet for Big Blue than an artificial intelligence program that was always more hyped than reality. Indeed, commentators already noted this may be a case where IBM finally hangs up the hat on Watson and returns to the enterprise software and service business that has always been its core competency. Facebook, 2012. They had shifted everything to HTML5 so that they didn't use iOS or Android native, but it was super slow and the app just sucked. So they had to switch back. They took an idea too early. They're probably going to retry it with progressive web apps, but it failed the first time in 2012. So, what do I do when we all take extremes? This is my application. Avoid all extremes. Ecclesiastes 7. So at Liferay, I always stress to avoid extremes. Avoid hypes. We're pushing DSP Cloud, but we're not going to forget about the on-premise. We're pushing AI on Analytics Cloud, but I foresee a time when even Salesforce Einstein will be talked about less, or at least in a drastically different way. So Analytics Cloud has to provide more than just AI-related functions. I'm hedging my bets. It affects every decision we make. I even try not to be too extreme in not being too extreme, which means sometimes I do take things to an extreme. Okay. What about the present? This is a UK beach, and there were tens of thousands of starfish that piled up on the beach. And there's a story, and when I saw this image, it reminded me of a story. And there's a young boy who sees all these starfish. So he goes in and picks them up one by one, and he throws them back in the ocean to save them, because starfish can't live on the beach. And this old guy goes and says, hey, what are you doing? You know you're not going to make a difference, right? And the little kid picks up the starfish and says, yeah, I know there are tens of thousands, but I'm making a difference for this one starfish. And the moral of the story is this: don't be discouraged. Just save one starfish at a time. And I want to encourage you, when you are discouraged, and I have many reasons to always be discouraged, just solve one problem at a time. Have problems with your kids, your marriage, your health, your house, your car, your code. You're overwhelmed. All of us are. It's a universal condition of living in a cursed world full of suffering. It's like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. And I want to encourage you, take a deep breath and be encouraged. Take courage. You are human. You're not just a machine. So let me tell you some of the starfishes I've worked on the past few months. This is 6.2 GA6. Boot up, some more log files. The whole server started up in 45 seconds, 170 lines of code. I tested this on my brand new i9 laptop, the best Dell laptop on the market. The second start was even faster, 25 seconds. This is 7.0 GA7. Start it up, kind of look at all these logs about stuff you're not really sure about. Oh, some modules. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to make of this. Must be important because it's left as a log file. Oh, I see the Liferay ASCII. Whew. I think we're making progress. Oh wait, verify properties. Verify processes. Okay, I guess we're upgrading, even though this is a brand new install I just downloaded. Okay. Oh wow, this is doing a lot. Should I stick around and stay? What's going on? Oh, it finished. Whew. Server startup, 86 seconds. Wow. 1,300 lines of information that is important for somebody, but not for me. I'm the chief software architect. You'd think I'd know what a lot of that stuff means, and I don't. And in the name of progress, it now takes twice as long to boot up. Okay. 7.1, GA1. Okay, start it up. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, lots of information. Okay, all right. Things are booting up. Maybe I should go look that way. Oh, should I go play a game of pool or something? Come back? Oh, wait, the Liferay ASCII came up. Okay. Oh, more verified properties, processes. Okay, wow, 7.1. Okay, latest. Okay, whew. Server boot up, 88 seconds, still around the same. 1,600 lines of information now. Almost, at least it's not twice as long as 7.0. I should be happy. And then I'm thinking, man, I really miss 6.2. I was pissed off when I saw this. 7.1 GA2. We released it yesterday. That's it. Okay, 31 lines, and starts up in about 31 seconds. Okay. Removed a bunch of useless logging information. And when I removed it, some people were upset. But then I realized, well, is there another way to get that information? How do you get it if you've never used OSGI before? Oh, you tell them about Go to Shell. So I told the team, can we just print out instructions on how to go to Shell and get that same information? Like, yeah, okay, great. Remove that. That's like 1,300 lines right there. Do we really have to have a pre-configured database? I mean, so a database that requires an upgrade, can't we just upgrade for them and then zip that in? Oh yeah, we can. Oh, another 20 seconds. Why do we have to generate the OSGI state every time? Oh, because OSGI from IBM is not portable. You can't switch it from machine to machine. Okay, can we fix that? Oh yeah, here's the patch. It took 2 weeks to do it, but it writes some tests, and it was like 10 lines of code. Great. So my goal now is speed. I want Liferay to boot up in under 15 seconds. I want to beat 6.2. That's the internal goal. My team didn't think it was possible. You know, before 7.1 GA1 came out, it actually took twice as long as 7.0. And my team didn't think they could half the time. They said it's impossible to get under 2 minutes, Brian. And I told them, it is possible. You're not going to do it right away. Give me half a second a day. That's all I asked for. Solve one starfish. I had to break it up. Half a second. Some days it could only get 0.1 second. But after a couple months, it's a lot faster. File sizes. I'm looking at it. The left column is zipped up. Then we have unzipped. And then we have our after first boot up. I'm just monitoring now, and we're looking for ways to fix it. First login at control panel. It would take a minute for a page to come up. I'd be like, guys, why? Oh, it shouldn't be. We already pre-compiled the JSPs. It's all JavaScript stuff. Okay, we have two different teams yelling at each other. So I dig in, and I found out that we were pre-compiling our JSPs, but for the wrong version of OSGI. So we're off by 0.1. We fixed that half the time. So now it only took 30 seconds for the first page to hit. And our team said, basically, Brian, you can optimize for two things. Faster human response, or by minifying the CSS and JavaScript, which is what's taking a lot of time, Or you can optimize for network transfer speed. You can have both. I looked at them and I said, really? I want both. This is what I want. When we first hit it, give me the slower network transfer speed, but optimize for my experience. Once the cache is ready, send me the cached CSS minified file. Problem solved. And we're gonna do that continuously. God willing, if I have breath, we're gonna keep doing that, because I want Liferay to be the best product out there. That's a Model 3. It's minimalist, it can drive for you. It carries 5 people. That's an Airbus 380. It flies up to 853 people. Sometimes asking people to build on top of Liferay is like asking people to fly a plane. One of the problems is because we went too extreme on certain things. Let me show you what this is. Back in the day when an SDK, plugins SDK, when you were developing on top of Liferay, you didn't care which module you were using. You just use portal kernel, star, whatever's on the app server. So I said, why can't we have that? I'm always deploying to a known GA version. Why do I have to know which version of a module I'm compiling against? Or which module I need to compile against? That right there is a diff where we took that idea, got rid of all the com.liferays, and it just says, well, which version are you using? Release portal 7.1.1. Bam, you're done. You have everything available at compile time, which is available at runtime. Okay. Now, Blade and the other tools we're writing for IE are awesome. They're meant to make this stuff easier. But I want to make it so it's so easy already without any tooling, so when you add the tooling, it's even better. The other thing we're changing on is, it's a JavaScript world. And I don't want to tell JavaScript developers, relearn your trade to work on Liferay. No. We're going to come to you. We're not going to ask you to come to us. And Ivan is going to be demoing all of our stuff for this, which is completely revolutionizes how we do JavaScript on Liferay. Basically, you don't have to change your workflow. The other thing we're doing is, we don't want people to have to learn OSGI. We want them to just review CDI and Spring. That's not ready yet, but it's close. OSGI is still key. I think the whole microservice architecture is awesome, but I don't want people to have to learn it in order to develop on Liferay. That's from Empire Strikes Back, looking out. And I took this photo because I felt like I faced Darth Vader and I got my hand chopped off. Both my personal life and also learning OSGI and moving towards modularization. I got beat up. But like the last scene in Empire Strikes Back, they're looking forward and they see lots of good things about to happen. The Return of the Jedi. And I see a lot of good things happening at Liferay. I've learned a lot of hard lessons, and I don't think we're done yet. I think our story is just starting. There's a lot more to this story. And I think of Adobe. They pivoted from Photoshop, right, to where they are now with all of their web offerings. And look at Microsoft, from DOS to Windows to Office to Azure today. And I think of Oracle pivoting from databases toward apps. I think we're at a junction right now. We're at Liferay. We're going to use DXP. We're going to continue to invest in DXP, and we're going to pivot, and we're going to have DXP Cloud, right? Our cloud offering. We're going to have Analytics Cloud, our SaaS offering, and then we're going to have Commerce, right? And lots of other cool stuff. Guys, thank you for investing your time at Liferay by making time to come out here. We love what we do, and we love hanging out with you. This is a joy for me to be here. Thank you.